Hey, lovely viewers, and welcome to Get Well, Stay Well on Revelation TV. You're joined by me, Si, and of course, our lovely Felicity. How you doing?
I'm fine, thank you, Si. Telling the truth about health, as usual.
As usual. You do so much research, don't you? You really do go into all the health topics and find so much information.
Well, you know, I love to research on this stuff. I love to see the truth coming out, and thank God for Revelation TV coming out with the truth, because you don't find this stuff on mainstream media.
Yeah.
And yes, I told the truth about getting well myself from pancreatic cancer in 2003. Talked about the apricot kernels, you know, God's humble little apricot that actually has the seed, like the apple seed and the grape seed, that heal us. Praise God. And it's all there in nature if only we know what to do. So a film has come out recently called What the Health.
Okay.
And it's excellent. They're really telling the truth about the way our doctors are not actually coming out and telling us to avoid meat and dairy, because the sponsorship from the meat and dairy industries and the pharmaceutical industry is so strong. And I became aware of this when I was working in the Houses of Parliament years ago. You know, you find that the lobbies are very strong. Where the money is, you'll follow the money, as it says in the film, and you'll find out that you know, there's a lot of big business to do with our food.
We often open our newspapers every day and we see different health topics and health stories, and it's like they're blowing with the wind. There's one day it's hot talking about the superfoods and the importance of staying healthy, and then all of a sudden you've got something else about the positives and the negatives all the time. They don't seem to be making their minds up, and we see this on mainstream media as well. Tell us exactly, how do you do your research, Felicity?
I do my research based on God's word in Genesis 1:29 and 30, where he says, "Behold, I give you every seed-bearing plant on the face of the earth, and every tree with fruit with seed in it. And to every living thing I give nuts, seeds, and plant," the green plant. So basically, God has told us what we should eat, and it's not eating dead animals. It was when sin came into the world that then Adam and Eve went out with the skins of the animals on them, which would have been blood-soaked, I suppose, because they'd been killed. So it's not originally, and the Daniel diet as well is vegetables and water, as you remember, from Daniel 1. So when I got well from pancreatic cancer, and I had been a nurse, thought that the orthodox treatment was absolutely the only way to go. You know, what an education I had, having seen what had happened to my daughter, who went the orthodox route, and then I did the natural route. And then I was so impassioned to teach this stuff. I wrote a book called God's Healing Word. I just wanted to get it out there, Si, for other people. And so much has happened since then. You know, Ty Bollinger made the film The Truth About Cancer. There's a film called The Sacred Plant as well, which is about hemp, which is a wonderful basic green plant that grows like a weed everywhere, and being vilified. And you know, it's interesting to see where the money is on these things. So the clip is extremely good, and I think people will find it interesting.
Okay, so let's have a look at this. This is a new film called What the Health.
The chief medical officer of the American Diabetes Association not want to talk about diet, but the fact that he had such an emotional reaction to my question made it feel I was digging into something that he didn't want uncovered. I had always thought there was no prevention for type 1 diabetes, but then I did research and came across countless studies referencing the link between exposure to dairy at a young age and type 1 diabetes.
I mean, this is a food made for baby cows. Cow milk protein gets into the bloodstream, and the body says, hey, this isn't supposed to be in the bloodstream. It makes antibodies to the cow milk protein, which then attack the pancreas and destroy the pancreas.
How is this possible that ADA wouldn't have this forefront on their website? Why wouldn't they be warning all parents about this, even if there were only a slight chance? Why were they recommending people to actually eat these foods linked to diabetes? It seemed all of the large health organizations were encouraging people to eat the very foods linked to the diseases they're supposed to be fighting against. American Heart Association promoting beef, American Cancer Society promoting processed meat, pink ribbons on dairy products, and bacon-wrapped shrimp on American Diabetes Association. And then it all came together. What if? And there it was. The American Diabetes Association was taking money from Dannon, one of the world's largest dairy yogurt producers, Kraft Foods, makers of Velveeta processed cheese, Oscar Mayer processed meats, Lunchables processed kids meals, and Bumblebee Foods, makers of processed canned meats. American Cancer Society was taking money from Tyson, one of the world's largest meat producers, and Yum Brand, owner of Pizza Hut, KFC, and Taco Bell. Susan G. Komen, who was supposed to be fighting breast cancer, was corporate partnering with KFC, Dietz Watson Processed Meats, and Yoplait Yogurt. And the American Heart Association was probably the most disturbing of all, taking hundreds of thousands of dollars from the beef industry, poultry, and dairy producers, and millions from fast food and processed food manufacturers. Every single one of these organizations was taking money from meat and dairy companies that are associated with the causes of these diseases. This would be like the American Lung Association taking money from the tobacco industry. I was sick of not getting answers. So I went to the headquarters of these organizations myself. We have to speak to someone in person. There's millions of people dying from the foods that they're recommending people to eat. I wanted to find out why Susan G. Komen had accepted $35 million from Yoplait when their products can increase a woman's chance of dying from breast cancer 49%. And ask American Cancer Society if taking money from KFC and Tyson was the reason they promote eating meat. But every one of these organizations declined to be interviewed.
What's really sad is that we cannot trust information from these leading health organizations like the American Heart Association, the American Diabetes Association, because they are taking money from the very industries who are causing the problems that they're, supposed to be helping to prevent.
Wow, just very, very eye-opening there, and the power of doing your own research and finding this information out, isn't it, Felicity?
Food for thought, isn't it?
Food for thought, indeed.
And you see all these associations were started from an ethical point of view.
Yes.
The people who started this, like Susan G. Komen, they literally wanted to help other people with cancer and to bring out the truth, and so many people have given money to these things. Giles, my son, has actually run marathons and triathlons in order to try and help people in these situations. But in fact, just as the medical industry has been hijacked by big pharma and big business, the big agribusiness, the big food business, these associations have as well. And you see, when they're offered 35 million, can you imagine being offered 35 million to do something? And of course, they're not going to rubbish the dairy produce. But as he says in the film, 49% more chance of having breast cancer if you're eating dairy.
We're starting to see more and more of these kind of documentaries being released now. I would say in the last several years, because of the power of the internet, it's far easier now for us to obtain this kind of information by going onto the internet search engines, typing in the keywords, and you get the information there and then. In the past, we'd have to go into the library and go through so many books and read through everything else, but the information is there. And that's what we constantly say on Revelation TV and Get Well, Stay Well. Viewers to go out and do their own research. It's great for them to listen to what we're saying, but at the same time, go out, do your own research. It's so easy. You have the access. You've even got it on your smartphone now as well. Just to type a couple of keywords and you've got all the information available.
Yes, when I started researching, I had to go to the libraries.
Yeah.
And it was virtually impossible because the medical textbooks were so difficult to read, even as a nurse. I mean, the whole thing is so complicated, and they really fog you with a lot of long words, basically. Luckily, I used to like Latin at school, so I could get to the bottom of most of those words. But I did have to go to the library, and it was virtually impossible to research. And you see, when I was ill in 2003, the internet was just opening up. I was told in church at Holy Trinity Brompton, our church in London, I was told about this sort of thing and about going to get the apricot seeds and have it intravenously or have it intramuscularly. And so really it came from God. It really did come from God when I started researching. And then I got into doing it on the internet, and gradually these films came out, The Truth About Cancer and Food Matters, other programs that we have shown on here.
Sure.
Because I do feel very blessed to be able to share this information. It's God's truth. And it comes back to that diet that he gave us at the beginning: fruit, vegetables, seeds, nuts, and green plants.
Yes.
What could be easier?
Yes.
But you see, with dairy, if you cut out milk, people say, oh, I couldn't do that. Well, you don't actually have to, because you can have the nut milks. You can have the delicious almond milk, hemp milk, oat milk. There's masses of natural vegetable. And
So there are alternatives out there. If people are watching the program for the very first time and they've never heard about the dangers, for example, of meat and dairy and some of the foods that we're highlighting on today's program, they say, "Oh, I've got milk in my life every single morning. I have to have my." Maybe they have to say it's a cup of coffee, Felicity.
yeah, well,
What do they do in those circumstances? They say, "I can't start my day until I have a cup of coffee." What do they do?
well, it's a choice, isn't it? It's a choice for people. And I mean, there's coconut milk as well. You can put any kind of milk in your coffee if you really want to have coffee. Of course, we know that coffee is better up the other end, and that's colonics and coffee enemas. But people don't talk about that much at parties.
Yeah.
So, but people are getting very interested in it, and they are learning the truth. And it's quite a challenge because people don't want to really be challenged. It's something called cognitive dissonance, where people really don't want you to go and upset their world, and they don't want to be told that they can't have a coffee. I mean, I can still have a coffee in the mornings if I wanted it.
Yes.
But I know it would make me jittery, it would have all kinds of side effects and stop me sleeping at night, maybe. We've proved this again and again. My assistant and I both live on basically on get well, stay well stuff. And
Yeah.
if we do have a coffee, if we're away and we say, "Oh, go on, let's just have a coffee," and we both suffer the consequences afterwards. And we know it.
Yeah.
But, if you're ill, you can't
Of
afford
course,
to
you've got
do
to be
that.
radical. Exactly.
So it's like, Christmas time, you can have the turkey and you can have all the naughty things, but it's what you do most of the time.
You can
Simon,
treat
that
yourself.
matters.
So you're
Yes.
saying you can treat yourself, but don't do it the majority of the time, in other words.
It's what you do most
Yeah.
of the time that counts. So if you're living basically on the juices, the beetroot juice, the green juice, the orange juice, the satsuma juice, which actually is less acid than orange juice.
Yes.
If you're living on those things, having a beautiful rainbow of fruits and vegetables during the day, the black ones would be blackberries, blueberries, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But to try and drink a rainbow of juices every day, it's amazing how the body will respond.
Yeah. So what is the best way of starting your day? You wake up in the morning, and like we're saying, people are used to having their cup of coffee. So we're saying have a juice. How easy is it to make a juice?
Drink water to start with.
Yeah.
If only people would drink enough water for a start, and that's so inexpensive and easy to do, as long as it's pure water.
Yeah.
So, I do like the distilled water
Yeah.
because it's the only scientifically pure water left on Earth with all the pollution that we have now. The latest report came out this morning about 44 cities in Britain. The air is so polluted that people shouldn't be living there anymore.
Right.
44.
Wow.
People, places like Eastbourne. I mean, we expect London, Manchester and Birmingham
Yes.
to be like that, but it's all over. And we're so lucky to be here in Spain and up in the mountain, especially. The mountain air is much clearer.
Okay, interesting. And talking about the different types of diseases that can arise within our health, let's talk about, for example, diabetes. What is the number one factor to prevent diabetes?
Coming off milk. You see, mother's milk is perfect for the species of every kind. Mother's milk is perfect. Then we go on to the cow's milk. Cow's milk is not as it was in biblical times. It's now homogenized, hydrolyzed, it's done all kinds of things done to it. And of course it's packaged, so it's got preservatives. If you look at the labels, you will see. And if you can get fresh organic milk from mountain cattle, maybe, it might be fine still.
Yeah.
But basically, people cannot handle the lactase because milk has changed. And so we just go for the nut milks, the plant milks.
What sort of diet should you be on if you are suffering from diabetes? What is the best diet for
Fresh
you?
fruit and vegetables. And there's a doctor I worked with called Gabriel Cousins,
Yes.
the Tree of Life in Arizona, and he's got people well in 3 weeks from everyone from diabetes stage 2, and also some people who were diabetes 1.
Wow.
He's even got them well. It just depends how damaged the pancreas is.
And now moving on to cancer, Felicity, what would you say is the main causes of cancer? Is it related to our diet?
Well, it's two things. It's toxicity, big time toxicity, and deficiency of the living enzymes. So if we're toxic from genetically modified foods, from the chemicals in food, now the wrong fats, sugars and salts, that's one thing. And then you add to it the deficiency of the good things as well, and you're living in a perfect storm. So you've got fluoride, chlorine in the water probably, The water's been through all kinds of processes now, even in healthy parts of the world, because of the chemtrails, because of the stratospheric spraying that's happening. So everything's getting covered, even the organic food. So the food that you grow inside and the water you distill in your home is probably the cleanest on God's earth. But we need to wake lots of people up, as I try to do with my Facebook pages, and I'm always putting on health stuff, you know, and trying to waken people up to this, because it's so sad that, you know, we have so many sick people at the moment. My little grandson, Alaric, I was so thrilled this summer, he's written a book called Get Well, Stay Well for Kids.
Wow.
He's only 9.
Oh my goodness,
But
wow.
when he saw what happened to Giles, and of course he visited him and saw, you know, the sort of hospital scene, and he was saying, Granny, because they love the stuff I teach, they want to be Cy and Felicity, you know, Malora and Alaric, it's so sweet. But they said, you know, it's too late when you grow up. You've already done the damage, Granny, so what are we going to do about it? And I said, well, you better write a book, Alaric. And he said, that's a good idea. He said, could I sell it for money?
Wow.
So
That's incredible.
He's a dear little chap, and he's just passionate about getting people
It's
well.
interesting
and
because
saying,
you think about it, you think, what is out there for the children
I know.
to be educating themselves, really? And
he said, I want to become a naturopathic doctor, and that'll cost a lot of money. So if I write books, do you think people will read it? And I said, yes, I'm sure they will.
Excellent.
And he sat down, you know, many days in Jersey, didn't go to the beach, didn't go to the zoo. He sat with me, and I wrote it on the computer, but he had the ideas. He said, we've got to do something about rebounding, he said. So I went out and I took a picture of him rebounding on the rebounder.
Oh, wow.
So he's got photographs there as well.
And you can make it fun as well. You look
Yeah.
at the children today, and you look at the internet with the blogging situation, or people just taking a smartphone. We have so much easy access now to a camera.
Yes.
And we really can make it quite easy for us. And it's maybe a good little fun project for children to get involved with, just making short little videos talking about health. And because, like, you think on the internet, there's nothing that stands out to think, who's teaching the health things to our little children? Because they need children to relate to each other, surely.
Absolutely. He said, you know, we don't want grown-up books. We want something that's really fun with lots of pictures. He said, it's got to have lots of pictures.
Yeah.
So then, of course, the second one, Laura said, oh, when am I going to write my book, Granny? Said, that's next summer. But it is fun. And, you know, sometimes these things skip a generation. My son and daughter are not particularly interested in Get Well, Stay Well, but the grandchildren are fascinated by it, which is so lovely.
Well, then again, you say they're not quite interested. Your son, though, he used to be interested doing the Ironman and all of the marathons and everything else. Obviously, there's still a belief of health in that family.
Oh, yes. I mean, he was very much into the sporting world. You know, he was an Ironman triathlete, and he cycled and swam and ran, you know. So, of course, it's devastating for him not to be able to even walk at the moment. He's walking with crutches. But
just briefly, some of the viewers who are watching for the first time, they're not familiar with your son's story. Just explain to us very briefly.
Well, he was on a marine boating accident where he was on a jet ski, and he was hit by a speedboat that hit absolutely impact on his knee. So shattered his knee completely, and the doctors were going to amputate it. And we prayed really hard, and they managed to save his leg. They did a lot of... He had about 6 major operations to try and get that leg working again.
Yeah.
And it was God's providence that the vein and the arteries were not severed as well, because that would have been the end.
And what is his status at the moment?
Well, his status is he's working really hard. He's doing physio all day, every day. He's on morphine for the pain. This is 3 months later.
Yeah.
So he's not able to go back to work yet, when he's so frustrated about that, because he's a lawyer, he's got 20 in his team, he wants to be back there, you know, helping everybody, and so they're missing him dreadfully. But he will get back there. He can drive the car again now, because luckily it's his left leg that's damaged. The right leg, he can actually, with an automatic, you can actually drive with just the right.
Yes.
So he can manage, and that gives him an element of independence back.
Tell us a bit of the emotional implications or the psychological implications of when you go through such a devastating accident. It literally transforms your entire life.
Oh, absolutely. It's
How do you stay strong during those moments?
well, it's only God that can keep you strong, I think, because it's totally devastating to. I think what you have to remember is an attitude of gratitude. Thank God it was only his leg
Yes.
that was damaged.
Yes.
Because another foot, and it could have been his shoulder as well, then he wouldn't have been able to walk on the crutches.
Wow.
So if his shoulder had been smashed as well, or if he'd had a head injury, or he could have been killed. So, you know, the first thing is thank God he's okay. Thank God that he still has the leg, and now we've got to do the best we can with that leg. And he's actually raised £200,000 years ago. He started something called the Endurance Challenge in Jersey. And, you know, he swam to France and he cycled down to Gibraltar all the way across the Pyrenees and everything to raise money for cancer research, for hospice, for all kinds of things like the Great Ormond Street Hospital for Children. You know, he's done a lot of good in his life, and now he's got his own endurance challenge. And so I know he's going to make the very best of that.
What about the importance of him staying healthy? He was always into being healthy. How has that helped him during his recovery process?
They've just said that he wouldn't have survived, they didn't think, unless he'd been really healthy, because he was so badly hurt, would have lost the leg. And really it was his heart being strong, because really those operations were quite something to get through, long anesthetics, like 6 hours. So you've got to be strong to be able to manage that. So thank God he was strong. And of course he's got exercise machines at home to strengthen the upper body to keep all that going, you know, pressing down and really trying to keep himself strong so that he can manage the crutches, because to climb up the stairs, he's got a long flight of stairs at home, and doing those on crutches was huge effort to push yourself up each step.
Because we're talking about staying healthy, and maybe people today are watching us and thinking, do you know something, this is an incredible story and I want to start becoming healthy myself. And you've actually providing us with a recipe how to make hummus, is that right?
Yes.
And this is just one way of introducing some nice, healthy and tasty food as well, which is so important. Before we go to Felicity, let's have a look at this. This is a recipe how to make hummus.
We're making one of our most popular recipes, hummus.
Hi guys.
We are super excited today, so we're sharing our new updated hummus recipe video with you.
We're really excited because we shared our original hummus recipe video with you a few years back, 3 years.
3 years.
And it was really popular.
Yeah, so popular that it's gotten like almost 2 million views on YouTube, which is insane. Now, if you've made the recipe before and loved it, don't worry, it's still the same recipe, so you're good there.
All we did was update the footage a little bit and we answered some questions that we got over the years.
So let's go make it.
Let's go do it.
Canned chickpeas makes this recipe quick and easy. Simply drain and rinse them. By the way, cooking your own chickpeas is an option too. See how on Inspired Taste. For ultra smooth hummus, remove the chickpea skins. This can be time consuming, so we don't do it every time. The hummus will still be very smooth without removing them, so it's completely up to you. Now on to the hummus. You need tahini. We use homemade. It's ridiculously easy to make. Hop over to our tahini video for the step-by-step. Next comes lemon juice. Fresh is best. Turn on the food processor for 1 minute. Scrape the sides and bottom of the bowl, then process for 30 seconds more. See how it becomes lighter in color and looks thick and creamy? Creaming the tahini and lemon juice before adding any other ingredients is one of our secrets to making extra smooth hummus. Now we need some garlic. We only use 1 clove, but you could always add more. Roasted garlic would be really good too. In goes some olive oil, a little cumin, and some salt. Turn the processor on for another minute until everything is mixed. Scrape the bowl again, then get ready to add the chickpeas. We add the chickpeas in 2 batches. and are careful to scrape the bottom and sides of the bowl a few times to make sure everything is being mixed in. After a minute or two, the hummus will be smooth. By the way, lots of you have asked if you can use a blender to make hummus. The answer is yes, but it does need to be high-powered. Last step. To make the hummus really smooth and just like the hummus you buy at the store, add a little water. As you add the water, you can see it gets smoother and smoother. Add as much or as little as you need. This time, it looks like 3 tablespoons will do the trick. And that's it. Extra smooth hummus that's way better than anything you can buy at the store. The hummus will keep in the fridge for about a week if you don't eat it by then, and in the freezer for about a month. Just make sure you use an airtight container. Ours never last long. We love adding a drizzle of olive oil and a sprinkle of paprika. Extra garlic, pine nuts, feta cheese, or olives would all be great too. Enjoy!
Oh my goodness, that looks good.
It does look good, doesn't it?
Really
Beautiful.
good. Yeah, excellent.
I love hummus and I love guacamole.
Guacamole.
Absolutely, yes, wonderful.
And that's what's beautiful about the food and nutrition. You know, we always talk about staying healthy, and some of the viewers might say, oh, there are certain recipes that I don't like or anything, but the choices are there. Everything is available for us. It doesn't matter what you're into, there is everything possible.
And again, you see, we're going back to the seeds that God talked about. So we're talking about the sesame seeds, we're talking about the chickpeas, or olive oil, all these wonderful things. And, you know, there's a doctor called Dr. Bradford Weeks, who we'll be talking about at another program. And he says that the seeds are the treasure chest of nature because the goodness is in the seed. So you know how crazy it is now with grapes.
Yes.
That it's difficult to buy grapes with seeds in.
Yes.
Unless you go to the market and buy from the farmers, which is what I do now. You know, the lovely organic shop we have in La Cala now, and I buy from the farmers market.
Yeah.
So the seed is fantastic. And the other thing about seed is if it's genetically modified seed, you've got all the toxicity in the seed as well. So people have got to be really careful when they get seeds to get non-GM, non-genetically modified seed.
Excellent. Felicity, thank you so much indeed for joining us today, and thank you for all the information as always.
Lots of information.
And thank you to our lovely viewers for joining us today. We do hope you've enjoyed today's programme. And if you'd like to watch this programme again or share it with your friends, then log on to our website, revelationtv.com. Thank you so much once again, viewers. We look forward to seeing you next time. Take care and God bless. Bye-bye.